Hello, it's me. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to show you guys how to actually format your manuscript when you are writing your book. I think this is such a great habit to get into because I've written like 50, 80, 100k manuscripts and it's looked like this and it's a nightmare, and I just wish I had this video so I couldn't make that mistake. I hope you guys also subscribe to my channel because it really does help so much, and I really hope that you guys are also enjoying my content so far. But anyways, let's go ahead and get on to the video. Okay, so I wanted to start off this video by kind of showing you guys what your manuscript shouldn't look like, and this is one of my projects, Project BB actually, and it looks exactly like this. There is no paragraphing, there is no nothing, there is nothing. Like, what is this? It's definitely going to be a nightmare to edit, even though as I write it, it's a lot easier and a less more brain power to actually paragraph and actually kind of include these tips that I'm going to be talking about in this video, but it is by far not worth it. And now I wanted to show you guys what I actually recommend your project to actually look like. So this is one of my free writing project and it's called The Strange Spell of Asara Curies. There of course should be structure, there should also be this little space, and of course some people use kind of just like space to have these paragraph openings, but I really don't recommend it because that's not a good, it doesn't work when you like post edit. So with this sort of thing in mind, if I want to make a new paragraph, all I have to do is press enter and it kind of spaces like that. However, I do want to also give you tips in terms with like dialogue and the actual like correct way to paragraph. And also with this, when you're thinking about chapter 1, if I go over here to the document outline, which is in the corner, and if I click it, you have like all of these prologues which allow you to jump around, and this is really simple to do, and it's just so important whenever you're actually creating your document, just to have these perimeters in place so you guys can actually organize your projects and not have to search using Control Find, if you know what I mean. But before we get on to actually structuring our document to start off with, again, you can also do this if you're like halfway through your manuscript. I definitely like might do it for some of my projects, but I think it's just really important to have this in mind whenever you're starting a new project. However, a few of you guys have actually asked me about like what sort of font I use. I usually either use Arial, Times New Roman, or I've actually recently been using Georgia. Georgia is so pretty, and it's really interesting because all these different fonts have different like purposes in my mind. So Arial is actually what I use to plot my books. It's actually just like the shape of the font that really just gets me into the planning mood and allows me to just encourage myself to like use dot points to like know that I'm in planning mode. It just kind of also helps me make sure I'm staying in short sentences and I'm not in like writing mode. So I really recommend you to kind of get these sorts of fonts depending on what you are writing. So that also means that I use Times New Roman for my actual like draft 1 manuscripts, and then if I'm writing short stories / like free writing projects, I like that one. And just like shorter projects, if that makes sense, I usually use Georgia, which is such a pretty font. Anyways, let's go ahead and get on to actually how to put these perimeters in place. So I also actually forgot to mention that I use, of course, Google Docs for my editing software and to actually write my manuscripts and everything like that. You can also use, I guess, Microsoft Word, but guys, convert to Google Docs. Google Docs is so good because it actually saves on the cloud. So if you make like one little edit, like if you literally add one letter to your document, it saves automatically. And it's so good because you can actually use Google Docs like on your phone, because whenever I'm out, like I usually use my actual phone to go through my document. I usually read what I've written in my last writing session, or sometimes I do make edits, and I do this like when I'm waiting for the bus, when I'm, you know, during my class, no, like waiting for my class. I pay attention, but yeah, I definitely recommend Google Docs because it saves automatically, it helps you organize your project, and it is also on the cloud, and of course you can use it on your phone. So just use Google Docs, please. Save yourself all that trouble when you lose your document, please. So I'm just going to be opening a new document, and the first thing I do to like format my document is just to type in a manuscript like so, and I don't know how to spell, and you highlight it and make sure you change your font I'm probably going to be changing it to, let's just say, oh, I actually use Laura. I think Georgia is the same, but I guess Laura is what I use in Google Docs, but Georgia I think looks very, very similar. But I usually do that. And of course, usually I kind of bold it and then also, you know, line it in the middle of the page and kind of just press enter until it is in the middle. And then below it I usually have the actual title of my book, so I'm just going to say book title or something. Usually I say like project.book title or p.project, so I'm just going to say p.project just for the sake of it. Awesome, so that's that. And of course if you have a prologue you'll just do prologue, but for this I'm just going to be using chapter 1. So this is the first tip that I like to do. So if you say chapter 1 right here, you have to make sure you make this as essentially like a title, and it's kind of like what you see at the summary or the outline of your document over here, because you actually are able to jump to it whenever, you know, wherever you are in your document. So what you do is you come up here. We're going to zoom in a bit so you guys can see very easily. So chapter 1 right here, and again you do this for every single chapter, but as you kind of go on you can just copy and paste it. I'll tell you what I mean, but what you do is highlight it, come over to normal text, and you're going to be using title. Usually the title, or you can use heading 1, etc. I just probably use title, and of course you can also do this for your manuscript thing, but I don't really care about that. I usually just care about my chapter breaks. So of course we have this right here, and it actually changes the font, which is really annoying, and that's why I copy and paste it. But of course I'll show you what that means very, very soon. So you just go up to font, change it back, and also it depends on like what sort of size you want it. I usually keep my size, I kind of forgot to mention that as well. Usually I go 11 or 12 as my size. Anyway, so we have that there, and if you start writing, of course, blah blah blah, I'm probably just going to copy and paste something from my law class. Yes, I study law. Wow. Anyways, so I just have like this, and of course I'm going to be changing the font because I copied it from one of my documents. And of course it's good, it has like paragraphing, I guess. But the thing is we need to make that space at the start of paragraphs, and this is probably like the biggest tip, the biggest thing that actually organizes and also makes it so much easier not only to actually read your project and read your manuscript as soon as you finish writing your book, but also the way that you structure it helps you actually write better, and it helps a lot. Okay, but what you do is you just kind of come over here to format. You go down to align and indent, which is right here, the third one down, and you're going to go down to indentation options right here. So you're going to click on that, and we're going to be going down to this special indent, and you're going to be writing first line. So select first line right here, and it kind of comes out with 0.5. That's kind of just like the space or the points between of course the break, but I usually like to do 3, which is not too far because I don't want it to be too crazy. I still want it to be enough but not too much, and you'll see what I mean once I press apply. So change it to as much as you want. Again, I like 3, and you press apply, and over here we have this indent. And of course people who do this, which is like dot 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 or space 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 space, not only is it really annoying when you actually kind of export your document, that actually turns up with these points, these like period points. So I really don't recommend to do that. But now since we have this right here, we can now, as soon as we go to something like this sort of line, we can just press enter, and it comes up with a new chapter break. Another thing I do want to mention is your actual spacing between your words as well. So if you want to highlight this and go over to line and paragraph spacing, you can do double, which is quite far. So I don't really like to do double, but I think that's the recommended one. But I usually like to do 0.5, which is a bit easier to, of course 0.5 is like way too much, but I usually like to do, I think it was, yeah, 1.5. And you can also do custom, but I just think 1.5 is fine. It keeps it like very small, because when I do print my pages, I don't want to use too much paper, so it's very good for that, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of like paragraph spacing between your first line and also your actual paragraphs. Okay, so with that done, I want to actually kind of talk about how to format and structure your dialogue and other things within your paragraphs. So if I go back to The Strange Spell of Asarakiris, which is my actual free write project, if I go down here to chapter 1, I want to show you guys exactly how you actually paragraph different things. So if we see this first paragraph, it kind of says like the academy has been in a frenzied state, blah blah blah, the great library is closed, the students stuck in their dorm rooms, nothing but blank walls and textbooks, blah 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 blah. That actually is like it's kind of hard to explain. It's like exposition. That's actually like something that's not related to the scene that I'm actually like in real time present tense, if that makes sense. So with this, of course, you're gonna have a new paragraph. If I just have this right here like this, it doesn't feel right. It just doesn't give the reader, or if you're editing this, it doesn't give you the sort of space, the sort of like, I don't know, just like the breather you need. So always whenever you're talking about something, like usually at the start of your chapter, maybe it's your character's feelings or something like that, definitely just do another paragraph. The next thing is also finding the right spaces to make a new paragraph once you do get to this point, and that usually is separated by this thing called dialogue. So dialogue, of course, is a new paragraph. I'm sure you guys know this, and it's really important, of course, to keep if there is a comma right here. And if it still has to do with the action of them, you know, speaking, or someone else kind of in the room reacting to the speaking, keep it like that. Again, I'm not perfect. I don't know if this really makes sense, but I hope it does. And I know I still have to edit a lot of this project, but again, it's just kind of like the theory of paragraphing. And this can also be the same with if someone does an action and then speaks. Of course, it's the same exact thing, because you're not going to have this and then a new paragraph, if you know what I mean. Always keep it in the same line. And of course, if the action changes, definitely do another paragraph such as this. So he waves a hand and the door shuts behind Luck, and then the master places his cane. Like, you see how the action kind of changes. I hope that kind of makes sense, and that kind of just helps you, just a little rundown of like at least how I do it. I hope this is correct, lol. I'm sure it's okay. I'm sure it's okay. The last thing, however, I wanted to talk about is the whole thing about the chapter thing. So of course you can always come down here, this is in my other document, and say, you know, chapter 2. But of course that doesn't come up right here, right? You have to do the same thing, highlight it, go up to normal text, turn into text, you know, do the same exact thing. But I don't like to do that, so all I do is literally copy and paste and change it to 2, and then it obviously turns up here. Another thing that you guys have maybe asked me about is also how to make the chapter breaks within your document. So what I usually do is I go into insert and I go into special characters, which is right here. Usually there's something cool, and I usually don't really care what the chapter breaks is. If there is something fun that I kind of like, then I'll definitely use it, such as maybe these arrows, which are really fun, or I really like to use these black lozenges. I don't know what that says, but these things. But of course, if you just like pick a random one, it really doesn't matter. Just click on it once and then you have it right here. I usually like to copy and paste it and kind of put some spaces in between them, just to kind of make it look like a real chapter break. And what you do to kind of course, use these chapter breaks to also get into your outline for your document the same way your chapters will. Of course, you just highlight it, go to normal text and click title, and it will come up with your chapter right there. And of course, I usually like to put this in the center so it's like that, and maybe make it a bit smaller. And of course, the same process where you just copy and paste it whenever you do have a chapter break in your manuscript. And by that, you're also able to just keep very organized with your manuscript and with your writing, and just help yourself when you are actually working through your book. So that's the video. I really hope this actually helped you a little bit. Again, I really hope you are doing well in your projects. Please let me know any tips that I might need down below, which will mean the world. Again, just try to keep these tips and just kind of just try your best to ensure you are just kind of making sure you are organized when you are writing your manuscript, because these sorts of things, like if you just overlook them, they do take a long time to actually go back and edit. So please just keep that in mind. Anyways, I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys!